Perfect design, the right creation model provides that the experience is real. We exist. So let's go on the journey of the universe to comprehend the true pivots, what is valuable, how to earn in the universe, the kingdom of your own soul, to the magistrate, to the magnification of its greatest possible potential, to become a true wizard, an eternal queen. It's not easy to be done. A transfiguration of the heart. Now only the arms. Engage your arms in the capacity like a spring trap wireframe moving forward, creating a dot matrix eye. Your own greatest possible future. These shadow arms and hands go out and touch perfectly the pinpoint expression of your forward conjecture as you're rendering your fate to master the communication, the existence, the landscape, and the many different encounters of existence. Here's one. Shroom. Welcome to Master Source Industries. I'm here to take you guys on a journey. So buckle up, buckaroos. It's gonna be all right. I'm trying to transcend my own frustrations and be someone who can make this movie happen. We want to talk about producing Hatch and how to do that. There's lots of different ways. It'd be great for like a. I mean, you guys understand that Hatch is Oh, well, my company is like a phenomenon. It explodes in such a way that is very financially successful. So I really just need this sort of boost to get produced. And so I'm kind of like, would you guys just mind helping me uh, a bit with this? And I'll give you like five to the dollar, as because I heard you guys joking about that. Like, but maybe that's sort of like, I mean, that would make it really easy for me because then I can just continue to own my own company and not have to worry about part-time, and it's almost like maybe Trey and his people are like, well, like to consider partnering with you is almost less appealing than the idea of helping you just make your company so that you can introduce Breathe the Mask XR and this solution for the CO2. It seems like we've already, well, the technical aspect of it is workshopped to the point where like, it'd be devastating to change the formula where Hatch is saying, okay, the first episode, we're talking about a solution for CO2. Because it's intellectually, we have to understand this is the curvature before we get the easy fix of introducing ozone. So if you want to talk about ending the wildfires, here it is. American Solutions, free speech, produce Hatch immediately. It's on it. I needed like the curvature really like that is actually true because how my inspiration arcs, my friends like we have to hit it while the thing is hot. And like I'm saying, like in a little while, oh my god, I had a vision that like me becoming a weird radical actually might if like it just continues with like this asinine, unconscionable. Oh, sorry. My wife pinches me a little bit when I'm like I start misbehaving, and she's like, no. It's like no, don't don't startle the horse. All right, Trey and friends. What you know? So I'm making this production letter. I'm also a human of the Earth. I live on Earth. I represent the existence creation model, correct? And essentially, there's a bad addiction. We have a neighbors, UFOs, who have an addiction of parasite. They also have an identity conflict, which is viral parasite. So, so leading by example, why is the world polluted? Because, female karma and the expression of the egg, for example, a universe with black hole decay is going to bring a pressurized system to this place where it apexes at the governmental SWOW, but actually it's Earth true, and it's amongst like the legit of Earth are kind of like the kings and queens of the universe, and we're all like, oh yeah, pollution sucks, we don't like it. So we need to really beat that out. But to get to the point, to get to the hottest apex of the real reason why Earth is important is to understand the Leverett circle. Uh, you know, I'm not I'm you guys. I want you guys to be pro. I want you to be adults. I want to be talking to you guys about how to avoid asteroid collision, how to prevent global. Uh, okay, so the universe is asking us right now, "Oh, Daddy, will you help us?" So this is a kind of a time when humanity needs to do this shit, and this is their trial time where they're like, "Oh, inaction," whilst, and it's just like gross and like, oh, okay. So look, I I really I guess I'm avoiding a lot of pleasantries and comedy for the sake to be professional and to get to the point. Even so, what I'm saying is like when I start talking a little bit about maps, I think it's more than an intro song. Like, oh yeah, right here we are hanging out with Hatch. You know, oh he's talking about maps. You know, so it's kind of fun just to get into the mindset. But in a way, like if I could successfully weave in a narrative where what people understand, everyone that's watching, even the technology or the particles of existence and time itself, you know, if everyone could just be absorbed in like, oh, this is like a meditation lotus, and we want to be engaged that our soul is our private adventure, and we're here in like a working arena to enhance ourselves, and it's totally free for you to do, and you keep the materials that you generate. Essentially, your experience filters any sort of that's what's miraculous about communication, why our tailbone turns in at the sphincter, you know. So because we don't have a wagging tail, you know, the tails curve up and they don't use words. Okay, so that's a vocabulary where you can extract the language of the universe and comprehend the elemental crush of why is the world polluting. So we have to solve the identity crisis first, and then we can address the physical problem. And so part of solving the identity crisis, alarmingly, it equates to producing Hatch, and then all of a sudden there's this sort of Aquarius thing where people are like, oh, this is a different way of thinking. I feel more empowered, and like I'm more engaged in what I would. Oh yeah, because I wanted to write a book or something. You know, come on, you guys. I'm not here to make you confused. I'm here to make us produce a revolution for humanity. So let's open up our minds and have like this thing. You know, it's not very funny. You know, what I'm talking about is serious. I hope that I can be a little bit funny, you know, because I'm really glad to be hanging out with you guys, and I love you guys. All right, so we're here to survive. It's 2021, and there's this crisis, the pandemic, and all this stuff. And my solutions are of a great depth, like why I am able to say advanced things. I am able to counter mechanics and break it down to things where people are like, oh, we really, you know, this each of these pinpoint ideas just need more. Okay, um, they need more time spent thinking about it. And what I really need is a partnership, like, 'cause there's a communication when like, even in the in the studio, if I'm recording and I'm talking about an idea, and there's simply, like, a couple other extras, and they're just simply, you know, sharing in the thing like they naturally would, and that involves some question asking or excited laughter or these sorts of things, where all of a sudden people clairvoyantly understand what's being said. And that's the arena I'm trying to get to produce. I'm saying to produce my show, I need a small studio, a motion capture studio, and I'm the director of it. And I make the programmings, and this stage set needs to be built. There's a bunch of them. And then there's a bunch of different groups like vampires and these guys. And, you know, these different areas are like, those characters are like becomes mascots for areas that are billboards where people are talking online through various means. Like we actually have like virtual reality welcoming centers, absolutely, where they're interacting with a solution for CO2. But it's like a beta chat board, and the same thing is going to happen. And that's what's interesting about Hatch's startup company is he's this thing that he communicates a thing and then it goes beta where people are talking about it. That's also how we're going to develop the Breathe a Mask XR. Also, the LLC for the ozone in a can, you know, but ozone straight into, you know, basically manufacturing products that support an industry which merely pumps ozone quote unquote experimentally into the sky. I'm sure it's going to help, especially if we put it right in the right where the hole is at, because that's what that's what she knows about. She her true love. All right, so oh, I well, anyway, let's buckle into the adventure. So here's the it's a sort of the most enlightened thing, and what I'm saying is that humanity has an under enlightened encounter. So we're dealing with like adult. Okay, so there's like kind of a slump here, and there's a possibility we might go extinct, which is why the nature, largest parts of it are controlled by women. That's why there's a environmental crisis, is because the universe is saying, fate of man in, danger, danger, sort of. But I can actually fix it. I just need to be pr- uh, USD approved by Trey Parker. Well, that's complicated. Yes, it's complicated as our society's made it by introducing money and all these other extraneous things to the garden. You know, welcome to paradise. Oh, you got all these other things, but no one's talking to me. It's like a Death Stranding. All right, so anyway, so for various reasons, anyway, like I had to go through a lot of work, and so I have this huge relationship with maps, um, because of my incarnation type, which went into a human anatomy. So that's like my fault. No, it's also your guys' experience. So you guys need to tune in to what I'm saying. Right, so anyway, I was like, "Oh, I want to open a company," and it's time. I saw some angels and like all my sort of familiar things. Okay, because I had to build up my own Pro Tools from the garden without reliance on a USD or a freaking this retarded system. People anyway, but I did believe in the communication industry and a great lover of music and of hanging out with people and spending time parties and having fun. So I was like, "All right, I want to make this company." And it's on my like Facebook. Like it was like 3 years ago, and I was so like clean cut and such a good guy, and now I feel like I'm some sort of crazy person online, just going like, it's CO2. Well, anyway, it's not just about me. It's this reality is this flexible thing. Anyway, these buildings that I finally wanted to purchase were actually located right here. There were this building and this building, and it was like an old factory mill by the river with the bricks. And I scrolled out, and it's like, oh my gosh, it looks like it's a little wiener. It looks like it's from the Goonies, which is like double-sided, because it's possible that my story could get stolen and wasted, and with a flabbergasted, you know, uh, oh, anyway, like, and it was just really funny because like, why are my buildings on this little wiener shape on the map? And you scroll out, and I was like, "Oh, I was working on armor for cartoon characters and how to make sure that their junk is getting served with their women, and make sure." And it became like this, identity, age bracket sort of geometry that I was working on, and it was sort of this intelligent. It's about animation. It's about how to calculate time through the circle. So using a circle, and so our perception is actually what controls lightning. Um, and specifically the path and thought of it, yeah, absolutely. Along with all the other natural things about Earth thinking and stuff. But anyway, I was brought into the location by a bunch of my angels. And scrolling out, it was like I saw this map of a silhouette of a South Park character. There's this other side where there's like a cyberpunk face of so the round head of the South Park character and his wiener and like maybe some big boots or something right here. There's like a larger one, but then there's a little tiny one, like the really old style South Park, but it like a silhouette, but with this anatomy water. And with these cute like green blush patches or whatever. But that's enough to just say like, oh, you're just seeing like a little dragon in the water, like some feet and a tail. Yeah, there's like a dragon there with green wings. So sure, it's breathing fire on the wiener. See? Wiener sauce from a dragon queen? Right. So I'm just seeing a little story there, but then it's what makes it weird is the same thing happens again here, but with a Beavis. So this is like from a different cartoon, but it's the same anatomy offerings into the nose of, and this talks about some shapes in the brain and how to circumnavigate, junk DNA, causing a stabilized society, which is what I rear, what I represent. My corrected anatomy by the wireframe of the Mandelbrot has enlightened humanity through my existence, my perspective. But, on various levels, this is the same thing that happens for everyone and every creature who ever existed. But mine is a particular chi, so you can tune in and be my friend and comprehend like what is going on in the universe because of our relationship. It appears that, communication is made divine. Anyway, right. So we don't have wagging tails. We're not dogs, so we need to have conversation, and that really sort of solves the problems of the society of everything. But it's just super important. Anyway, me and Maps go way back, and originally I was thinking like I'd really like to overclock my performance and return to this location for my studio to do the motion capture. And it would be amazing. And there'd be no distractions of like a pizzeria or whatever going on there. But also it all depends on like how this rolls out. And like so right now I think that like talking about the actual location is well, actually it was good that I talked about a few options like oh this and that, okay. But really, it depends on how I get produced is determines the location. So as we're just using our arms here telepathically in the shadow, there's like a couple different uh, degrees of like there's a couple different shadow arms of our own body. So like it's just something that impacts our lifetime. So it might just pop up randomly, right? But you're walking along and like oh, one of your shadow arms just reaches out and saves it. There's like a piano falling on a kid or something. You're like oh that's obviously not right. So your shadow hands have been working all along. You connect it into your brain. You make your dedication that your arms are very fit to the task that encounters you through your continuum, maintaining consciousness for the quality of your internal universe as you're meditating through the day, optimize the day. So spending time with friends to and talking about that and throwing it down, very powerful. Get it on film, and that's a revolution. All right, Trey, what I'm talking about. All right, well, I'd like to talk about my project, Trey. So, for example, when uh, like I've gone through phases of directing and animating and like the appetite, and I'm talking about like how to get to an unusual, like it opened like a lotus of a surprise of a like oh beautiful cut. Oh yeah, it's based off this painting, right? So that's what It's not just that I have a kind of a wire like it perverse painting method. It's just that like I'm doing it on purpose is what I'm saying. Like I know that the awesome thrill of the way that people think about animating, I really want to introduce different methods. So that's what I'm talking about doing, and then bringing these characters to life through with motion capture. But essentially putting CGI artists to the task of interpreting like a little smudge and being like, "Oh, well, this is a complicated neural network of like a glassy-ish AI, which is weaving in time temporal. And they're trying to focus in on the solution. How do we cure the CO2? How do we cure the environmental crisis? How do we prevent the CO2 thing? Well, the CO, oh, oh, sorry, how do we prevent the COVID thing? The problem, the COVID thing is so dynamically different from pollution in the sky that that it has like a different reason and a different solution. So I am saying it's so bad that the Breathe Mask XR would make sense. And what I think that I would like everyone to try to discover right now is that the epiphany of okay, like the epiphany of how beautiful and varied these breathe masks are going to be is what we need to be like oh okay imagine like it's got these little plastic wings and they've got fun little lights that go look gently though we've decided it's sort of like this it's like sunset right? And but and then it's got like this creature smile, and it becomes really popular in Japan, right? And it plays a little song or something, so on the beta scales, like we're just sort of making masks into a trend where we're like, oh, we're embracing it, and it's a fun thing now. Oh, but then they have ones that have computers in it, and it's changing what you're seeing. Oh, it's XR, right? It's just XR, but it makes a wonderful tunneling feeling where and also personal space, like when you're in the subway, you're just not worried about getting sneezed on. You feel like, oh, I'm at home, because it doesn't separate you from the environment. It makes you immersed into it. And then it becomes this battle zone where there's various games and you can like switch channels. So it's about like putting TV on people's heads, and sure enough, they'll be able to stream from like a tower. They'll just be able to watch TV on their face screens if they want to. All right, but it's just sort of it makes sense right now because of COVID-19. So the invention and the introduction to society, the Breathe a Mask XR, that is the curvature of the gentleman's walk. We understand it in the day. Um, but I think we would open it up to a creative thing like, oh, what should these masks look like? Can we put like different sorts of things on it, and like colorized theories, like, oh, this one's has a color theme, okay, and then right, that's what I'm saying. Can we expand on that? What if it's sort of like, it has like all these different chambers, and it distorts the light in a slightly different way, which kind of makes it a prismatic excitement. We tested it. It didn't make us feel sick. It was actually like, whoa, because you have the relief of XR, so you can actually see what's going on around you, so you don't get nausea. Full immersion into virtual reality can be a little bit weird because it doesn't. The body sense is a little bit. It's like you have to get your sea legs. But with XR, the stabilized world is around you, and you can interact with it. You're not bumping into things, and it becomes like a character in your life. And there will get to a point where people you're seeing get animated as characters of your own cartoon show, and you're like, I just so instead of interacting with like people that you didn't like, it sort of becomes your own cartoon show. These are all really good ideas, and it's all part of the Breathe the Mask XR startup LLC. But all right. I feel like I've achieved enlightenment with you guys just by talking about. I've just basically gone through the basic stuff that I've already been saying this whole time, and it feels like ecstasy. You guys are great. I love hanging out with you. Everything's gonna be great. Anyway, like for me to be talking about what I realized today is like I don't need to be talking about the location yet. I just need to be talking about the green light and sort of getting it approved that Hatch should have the sort of his own show directorship. And what is he going to do with this budget? Oh, well, I have to set up my company's block, and or okay. So for example, each of these ideas need a lot of space to grow. The Breathe the Mask XR needs its own department. It needs its own living space. That's why I have this sort of characters in a house, and it sort of breathes out, so it really makes, oh, just you can explore into this room where everyone's crowded. Oh, and this is where they're meeting to talk about the CO2 solutions, and we could set up cameras in virtual space and turn this into a show as well. So that's why it leads to Hatch having his own streaming service, and I was thinking we could inspire a lot more hybrid solutions where we have editors at home, just a couple people watching footage and being like, oh, that part and then that part, okay, that's that's communication. That's really an inspiration. So when we have these things, talking about finding the shape puzzle piece that solves the pollution matrix shape guy, it's kind of a chore. It's like sort of a bitter pill. So what I'm saying is a spoonful of sugar is going to make that medicine go down. A spoonful of sugar is the Breathe a Mask XR. Because until people feel that we need to find exactly, I'm just trying to make like a really cool mask, but it actually has filtered, pressurized air. So it's actually it feels good. It's like sort of tingles your face, little kisses. At the end, it's. All right, you guys. Like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take like my phone is ringing, and I'm just gonna take like a small break on it for like 1 minute. Just let me get like a drink of water because what I really intended to do for this recording is I was going to I wanted to do something really romantic or like talk with you guys and hang out. But all I've done is sort of recap just basically what we already know. But it's been just wonderful. I feel like it makes sense now. Like I feel like there are various ways that humans talk to each other. I'm trying to find the right fit. But like if we beleaguer on and be like, "Oh, it's not time yet for him," that's not good because then this perfect solution block is going to evaporate. Like it's just because it's Zen. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, but the calendar, right? Every month it's got to count, you guys. I'm urgent on this, and I'm like a hardworking person with energy, and I think that when I get the right people who really enjoy that sort of energy, it's just going to take off. Like Hatch is going to be a revolution for people. And yeah, thanks you guys for being my friends. That's what's up. And well, I wanted to do like a fun performance. Let me just let's take a break. You guys can pause it. I'm just gonna give me like a minute. Thank you guys. All right. Let's see here. All right. So the romantic thing I wanted to talk about is actually the juxtaposing between like 3 years ago, 2019, 2018, when I was working on. I'd sort of brought my human condition into a place where I was very debonair about opening up a small startup company. And then, you know, if we can make a deal, Trey, um, if you can produce me, it's all going to be worth it. It's going to be like, oh, this totally makes sense now. Um, it's almost like the divine needs to align with the practical and comprehend that there's a divine ascension that is in place for us. God damn it, you guys. So through the process of challenging my artists to develop these characters and these puppets, and they're going to invent physics for to interpret what they're arguing is like going on as a robotic process. But that's just going to be an amazing scene. This is the actual gear that I programmed on paper and is turning in the head of Master Source, the mascot character. So, working on paper causes then when it goes into the virtual plane, it's a binary thing. The wireframe and the interaction becomes a very finite, maybe even non-existent thing, but it does exist. So converting consciously, because that's a big thing, is you have to be not just the right words, but the right water prism. Like if your water understands like, oh, we're making this gear so that we can convert paper uh, programming through into a virtual deck to create wirespring holograms and AI, basically the elf lightning of robots and super cities for the future of mankind and humanity. I'll have to build master source industries. Let's see. I'll show you the gear. So, through the correct energy expansions, the wireframe, and the intuition of what is it, or the gravity of that, the reality of all this is a pressurized system that causes the result and the maturation of master source, the character avatar. Myself here. So and I have a bunch of different characters, and I love them all, and they're my family. And my personal urgency that really keeps me going is that I am urgent to bring them to life, you know, and to perform them and all this. Sometimes I'm laying in bed and I feel anxious and I'm really apologetic to my spirit family tree and I'm telling them like, hi, I'm sorry we haven't gotten developed yet. Like I feel like we're a totally different group than we were 3 years ago and like um but there's like they're able to say things like, well, it's like like the environment of the humans and their visual charity is like this other dimension, And meanwhile, what I'm really concerned with is the rainbow physics, the universe, the creation model, Earth's apex reason for existence in that lampoon, that chandelier of light. Why is Earth there? And the arm of Cape Cod, these things coral, and humanity in this language curls like this. The reason there's black holes in the universe is the same reason why we're suffering pollution here. Partially because the women are asking the men, particularly, putting in their hands, saying, "We can solve the problem if we override the junk DNA against these viral now UFOs that have this. Before the boy has the light, that's for you to invest in future generations that will continue on this earth. Produce hatch. I am the source father tree of that. You guys, but that's not all there is ever. Come on, you guys. Listen, the same reason why there's black hole decay is why there's pollution. It's urgent generation. Hey, we got to get going. I'm not saying, hey, we have to make a breather mask and get going on this because can't you guys hear the zombies at your fucking door? No, bro. We can't. Yeah, neither can I. Like, everyone's gone back to life as normal. Everyone's really happy. I can go and get a coffee. People are joking and stuff. I'm not having a nightmare, bro. There's nothing wrong here. Nothing is wrong. So why should I care about the environment? Well, if, it's because it's getting like worse. And, I have a couple practical solutions where we could stop wildfires next year. And that's like good for business, right? So just to be a polite gentleman is to produce hatch. This is the first things we're doing. And like, I was like, for me to present to you guys, do you want, like, for me to talk about, let's have some more naked time where we talk about my characters. Well, that's okay. And I mean, everything's pretty naked anyway, but I'm saying like, I feel like, character development, it's like, we really just need to focus on some adult things so that we have the right thing open up at all as we're moving forward, society and identity. It doesn't narrow down to this one little thing. It's like it's always this sort of larger thing. The tenacity of thinking, meditation, and conversation. We have to perfect our own suit here and now. Welcome to Good Deeds Arcade. Everything's been set up an entire labyrinth of the arcade. all configured to your own personal baggage and bullshit and problems and agendas and your body getting out to this and that and what you need to know. Shush. And I release you like a flock of birds, you wild gantry of everybody. Shush, into Good Deeds Arcade, Palindrome, all these like, layers of different types of larger video game animatronics made up of multiple arcade levels. Yeah, that's the boss level. You can like see someone up there now with the flaming scar. They're trapped in slow motion somehow. It's like some parable. You're not at that level yet. Perfect bullseye. You know, junior perfectionist one. You know what I'm saying? The echoes of what you say cause a divot in time. It becomes your technology. The things you say is the radius of your greater labyrinth, the aura of your soul. There's only one of you, so that's the true value currency. So as identity moving forward, that's why we need to not have invasion and not be like, oh, right? But to consciously use the words to that comprehend this, we can untangle the problem with the Y chromosome and understand the empowerment of the wizard. Even from these fools from the 70s evolved through the 90s of reality TV shows. My brothers, this family, we grow. After the deadlights rose, the children are at a greater caliber, the potency the earth has chosen, residency. Oh, dang, so we're not Scientologists, right? So we're more like sun worshippers. We're like earth identity only, humans only. That's what I'm talking about. That's what producing Hatch means. That's what you're giving to everyone is a continued uh, residency on Earth because the human adaptation matches the woundings of Mars, Venus, and the Orange Planet, and the secondary asteroid belt, which is a disastrous, you know, the language is very bad against us. Yeah? But for our people to be resilient, yeah, hey, Batman, oh, whoa, hey, so all this, yeah. And it's gonna be a wonderful surprise party. Mastros Industries, the Vampire King, and all this stuff. I'm gonna get characters on there where people can interact and there's sort of um, just people talking about the right all this. I don't know. It's just like I'm in love. So I yeah. All right. I'm looking for the green light. I'm looking to get produced. My characters will bring these inventions, and it's sort of like when I'm talking with other people, there's like a renaissance and an epiphany, and I'm like, oh wait, this, and then they're like, yeah. I'm like, wait, I can solve that also, and they're like, wait, what? And then I'll be like, and then working on this thing, and we're gonna actually like solve cancer and stuff like that. Like it's gonna be a really like a think tank environment, and it's just like well, basically, okay, this is what I'm thinking about doing is I'm the CEO boss guy, and it's a show about me like having conference calls with other people, and I think I'm always sort of like we have an office that's arranged with them, and then they always sort of get paid something like oh here's $300, $500, he's like well come on over, and so they're already sort of like okay, and but I'll be talking to people about and we'll have these things anyway. That's part of that's what I'm filming and they're agreeing to that before they arrive, of course. Um, but I'd like for it all to be virtual, and so that takes some work, a little bit of work too. But as those things evolve, it becomes, like I say, what could possibly be better than solving the CO2 and solving for with the breathing mask extra. Also, it'd be good for me to be close to the business of how to defeat the pandemic because I think that when this thing a little bit weird, I think me and some of my friends are going to look at it and we might have something to say about it. Like some sort of protein we're thinking about. That might be useful later if this thing just keeps going and just like, oh, everyone's just rolling around in it. It just needs to be like, you know. Um, I mean, I don't know, like So it's good for me to be in the Breathe Mask XR because it just gets me closer to this. It's the shape is not good. It's, so there's not an easy solution for it, and so in places where there's like an immediate problem, like a Breathe Mask XR would be the cool thing, and it's fun for because it's sort of playful. So it's this huge thing for people who, or even those that or anti-vaxxers or whatever, the Breathe Mask XR becomes a conversation and a medium for all those different groups. Mhm. So I think, genius things will happen, and I'm interested in a lot of things. And yeah, I think we just allow the magic to happen. Like I say, I always work before I perform. I work with my family tree, basically my like drawings and maps of my little characters and stuff. And well, I always plan ahead for the sort of perfect epiphany for the bridge Vec because I feel that we've actually transcended recently because of the anguish between myself and everyone else. Uh, well, we've transcended it and we've become acquaintances. We've become like friends and family of theirs and stuff. Perfect design. Billions of actions. Curative, transformative. Yes. Good deeds arcade. Just imagine that. Like, through the movie, like, there's a part where people's imagination gets sucked into that. And they go on a voyage where they got to do a lot of troubleshooting. But at length, it actually is an extension of your own electricity. So only the perfect circle returns to you through the visual cord. You're like they have their own epiphanies because their body generates their own electricity. So through the processing and the pink storm, and like imagine a greater volume of like a storm in your brain that's pink thunder or some sort of a new type of color or something. And then you have a unicorn's horn and you're like, towards the solution, find what I'm looking for. All right, and all your shadow puppet arm hands goes, and you're sort of building it and bringing it into you. Yeah, because the seated position, the throne of perception, you are full powered angel. The human condition is only slightly complicated, but actually made it, more perfect because we have like some weird barcodes in there. What? Sort of, takes on a whole new slant with the consumer character, versus conditioning. But we have to like comprehend the language of the maiden when she's talking about black hole decay or pollution. We're dang. So we have to make the seed recoil and then stratosphere and then society. So produce hats, you guys. Don't be a knucklehead. Mm. So the shadow arms, they help you to navigate as you're moving forward. And so imagine like a show where people get these sorts of while you're watching it and it's all animated, you know, yeah, and but then it kind of you know talks about something useful, and then the idea there's like a place where it can go beta and people can talk about it, and there's some virtual space, and that's basically my presentation dome, my arena. I'm gonna have like a battle dome or maybe destroying the problems of the world and stuff. Oh man, that's what I was thinking. I should overclock myself. I should work like I think yeah, because it's like to think about like which side of the human condition I want to do leadership. So I want to yeah. So it'd be 55 punny. But the location it doesn't matter right now. I'm just saying like first to really change the world, you guys. Perfect design. Yeah. Right, so once they get their arms attached, then you set them loose into an arcade of different dimensions, like all fragmenting and like, but they've got all these arms, you know. It's like a Street Fighter in 1031. Like it's this advanced form of, yeah, yeah, it's like a quantum physics example of this hologram that opens up, and there's the newest version of literally of Street Fighter. Oh my gosh, and they're playing it. Oh my gosh, good, good, good. Got some things changing. Good Deeds Arcade does all that clockwork thing of it's already there in the elemental map. There are different periodic table of elements that perform what I'm talking about. Those are like, the element, it explains like what the ascension is exciting about and moving forward. And the afterlife is a great epiphany. And if our environment's struggling, it might be that our afterlife is suffering. Everyone's. So it's sort of like this identity crisis. And so I think because of the like this well, my incarnation type is bubble up all about, which is categorizically unlimited. And so very much my communication with humanity is also a communication with the conditioning and the sort of the violent side of it. And I'm like, okay, so I need to not be authoring their accent problems. So I need to be like, I'm on the good side of this, and boom, 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 boom. When you reset it and straight rainbow across the universe, we have a calendar heading as the Earth is going through here, and our many arms are fulfilling the societal equus. Yeah. Through Good Deeds Arcade, transcend this. And the triangle? Alright. Alright, you guys. That was so much fun. I'm really glad that you guys are here with me right now. You guys are full wizards of existence. And as you're floating in your body and all this and what can be done with it, I'm talking about making programs that are just all about that and making fun things happen because it was sort of workshop. Like people put it together, like, oh, this like we could talk about the process of copper coils generating electricity, have an internal process, and make an amalgam, and people will just be because, and you're like, oh, how about like a movie where you can afford to do a whole exo like astral projection of yourself into that Good Deeds Arcade, yeah, which we did in this program. We're doing that. So perfect design. How's that feel, you guys? You like that? Is that your thing fun? Okay. All right. Armor up from within. All the way up to your epidermis. It serves only you. Identity. Self-evident axioms. All right. So to comprehend your full meaning, that is the cherub of your, and that's what the breather mask is about. This is sort of worshiping this, okay, and that's why I feel I'm the right person to build the breather mask XR. You guys, I want you to be a part of this. Try, the wear map. I am a professional entity, and so I get exhausted too about things. Not just a one type of thing, you guys. But like I'm also my incarnation when I interact with humans is also like they can get like triggered because of that because of the larger like Scientology things because they're all like they're kind of like this thing like they actually are my Zen army. Like there's my chi extends in such a way that they're enveloped already. But then it's sort of like in the twilight of in the gloom of things, I'm seeing like problematic extinction. So I'm like, we actually have to talk about the junk DNA thing and crack it. And then because the waterborne spellcasting will cause like, and then everyone's gonna, oh, is it? So I have to exist. I'm important. Yeah, that's how everything gets sustained and stable. Oh, church, confidence and excitement about your soul because we're working on this together as a society. And Earth's actual reason for in the universe is way up there, and that's not been represented properly. So that's what we're talking about, producing Hatch. To connect those things solves the actual beta identity crisis, Earth true representation through Hatch Panheliosphere, Hatch Heliosphere eggs. That's the correct application of Jesus Christ's miracles is to when the sun is ready to hatch the heliosphere egg, the sun becomes exhausted, and the psychic that has developed, it's like a billions of years from now, but all these clockwork eggs with the sun in the middle is like an egg timer. And then the sun gets exhausted, but they use the miracle powers, perfect design. Hatch the eels for your eggs. Boom. And through miracle recomposition of element, they transcend to the next level of identity incarnate process, the conquest of everything in space, and just mastering existence, eternity. It's very selfish. It's very macho, right? That's the peculiar thing, but it's also wicked handsome, and she loves it. So this is existing is a very like thing to say, and there's people like there's anxiety over here with some problem bots, and they're just sort of so we need to kind of forklift that, and then producing Hatch will be enough to do all of that work. How I'm able to catch up with you guys and inaugurate the transition of junk DNA and the identity crisis away from this and that. That's what we've been determining between 2019 and 2021. And we need a full comprehension and mastery of the human intuition, of course, but yeah, okay. I'm talking about introducing people to inventing their own new society, like through the meditations that I'll be doing with people, but it's also, the Leverett Circle, so it's really powerful. Yeah, and, any way that you'd like to do this, Trey, whether, however you'd like to work with me, it's just really, let's get going as soon as possible because I'm kind of at a point where I don't feel that you guys want to hear more lovey-dovey stories. We want to know about the company. We want to know, and that's really what I've covered today. It's substantial. We had an experience. It was great. I had a good time. I hope that you guys had fun. Anyway, you guys get to keep those attachments, extra shadow arms, and a good deeds arcade troubleshooting. That's gonna dissolve something that you were okay. That's kind of digestion and masculine society moving forward. Eigen frequencies, sicknesses, and before they have a sound. But you need to have this type of consciousness, and so that your body is using the eigen frequencies that drive out developing sound. It's actually, yeah, you can like sound therapy is a huge thing on the body, and I'm interested in getting into a environment product. I had a couple of epiphanies. Been writing down a lot of things. Yeah, good times in my invention time. But I know I'm going to grow as a person. And I think that's where we're at. I'm hoping that you guys could be excited about producing this idol. A master source, master of synastries. Shum. Perfect design, You're in outer space. It's because of the conflict of outer space over here. There's the ancient wounds of the vortex of woman's karma is a sort of the black hole decay. That's not a good sign, and so this is actually pressurized on the identity, whirls back in and arrives to Earth and our season is at this apex thing. 2021, perfect design. And we're going through Good Deeds Arcade spiral to calculate it, and we'll do all this. So, we'll microprocess it on the telepathic pink so that we have full confidence. Right? So, I use cartoony examples, but it's very real. But of course, when you're dealing with me, I've got kickflip where it's also a blessing on the other side because I'm not trying to, because I'm a karmic scientist. So, my things all arrive with huge amounts of blessings and other types of confidence. All right. So armor up from within because your identity is the solution. My story is about my family, Millie and the Halloween twins and the Green Wolf, the Dragon King, the Alicorn Stallion. Yeah, my family. So just to bring them to life is really what I'm about. That's my real living thing. It's what I want to do most of all. And what kind of it's what makes me really a pushy person. There's all that family values behind it. Like people are gonna really love this show, and it's gonna be designed to bring all these things. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, because my things are built for the identity, the unique little person, and there's all these system of the down Scientology calculations against us because people are anxious about the universe environment, and they're kind of like hazing humans. And I'm like, well, you need to. The boy has the light. Let the magic thing happen. But you know, like for me, because of the thing, I'm like upset about that. But as a group of people, but then at a certain point, they aren't stopping the pollution properly, or so, you know, and it's like, oh, yeah, right. So what I'm looking for is like a sort of comprehension about financial production. Like, what do you need? Bare bones production, and we'll just go from there. Yeah. Thank you so much, Trey Parker. Thank you. That's a show about my little family, and we're gonna make some inventions. And like I said, I'm as well for as far as workshopping the ideas. I feel we've completed it because it's really you know, as an intellectual, for me, I'm like, you guys, I'm really ready to move. I need to get this thing on going with everything. Um, I don't I don't want to evolve to the next. I see the forms, the terraforms of what the resource would be beyond, like what my task would become if I'm not someone championing the solution for CO2 and the breathe mask XR. So it's like a huge fork in the road of my life. You know what I'm saying? It's like a so I really need you to be amazing, Trey Parker. I need you to be wizard and so the wear map. So there's this different frequency of human, and he's on our side. He's talking about us staying on Earth. So he needs this and that. So it's a good story if we could. Okay, I have an idea. But let's go. Green light, go. Because I don't want to workshop this idea anymore because then we're gonna lose something that's really sort of intelligent about where our orientation. We're like, yeah, we're upset about this fires that she's bitching about. Mother Nature is not pleased. Okay. Uh, sorry. I know it's not funny, but it's actually what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to equate that we are empowered over the garden and that aspects of nature is male and female because this entire universe is built to put true love on the stage. It's a handsome thing to exist. We are like the source code animals. We transcend. We don't have tails, so we're not animals. We have to transcend, do something enlightened, and produce hatch. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I love you guys. The perfect wizard circle. Everyone's been respected here. And all the sort of meditation that we achieved today, it comes to completion. Bang, 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 bonus, bonus, jackpot, jackpot. You know, like, Merry Christmas. All this good things happen, and oh, it's like a refreshing of the many aspects of your personal body. Go like you shake like a dog, and with all the water, and you shake it, it's just like down your entire body image and your existence tree, right? And so suddenly you've sort of in another world you sort of planted in a fruit bearing tree, and like in a million years you're all like, oh, those are really valuable later, yeah, in the psychic fields and the existence, whatever the ethereal bodies become. That's sort of the ascension of hatch the heals your eggs, and we have this amount of time to figure that out. It's a passionate play. And it's also like, oh my gosh, don't get eaten a lot. Don't get, oh shoot, it's very huge. It's like super competitive. Almost, right, right, right. So that's the problem is that where it almost seems that the system of the down and junk DNA has a point because they're like, hey, we're being aggressive towards, you know, matriculating your ghost sensations and your orientation further into into so we can control Star Night. And it's just like, wait, this isn't. I'm not seeing like a show that is showing the boy has the light like this. You know, it has to be written by humans. Like humans are this heroes on the stage. We need to put that back onto the focus. You know, and just been a lot of people chatting in like a nightmare through the '90s, being like, oh, it's like we're on a play stage. We're on a stage. You know, like, and also the sort of other types of zombies that which are just benign and or just expressions, but I'm saying this is adult transcendence, producing hatch and understanding some of the glimmers of like, oh, okay, yeah. And it's almost like consumerism and those details become a defense when you guys mature intellectually by like a righteous production of hatch because of the Ware map, because of Earth. Basically, like Earth had this recognition with Trey Parker through the Ware map, and this is when I was seeking to open my company. So logically, I'm saying Earth is saying that my company is supposed to open up through Trey Parker's production, but this also sounds a little bit crazy. But this is just what I'm dealing with, and it's a way of changing like time itself or society. But like, yeah, definitely your identity, Trey, is so important now to in many look, you guys, I'm trying to be on the good side of it because the various systems that value identity, oh, the like free meal guys, yeah, oh, those angels, okay, listen to them. They're they're the ones, okay, but then you're not then you're relying on a higher power anyway. So the machoism that I'm promoting isn't about being incorrect. It's about upholding something that's important about just being here like, oh, we need to take care of this planet because we're going to keep living here, and that's kind of the dialogue. Because the Olympristic politician leadership is kind of like they're not really taught. Their je ne sais quoi is not the continuing of our I mean, you know, okay, all right. It's like a little political puppet show, and it's not the passion that makes the world turn. Um, whatever, it's cool. We'll work on it. All right, thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time and energy. So I just want to make this sort of and then like an animated thing where you have this confirmation where things are sort of built up and it becomes like a perfect robot or like it comes together organic like something that's not insulting. It's not merely uh, emulating an orgasm, like oh, it gets brighter and brighter, and then woohoo! Um, like something like that confirms the intelligence. It's like okay, we're talking, and therefore we're doing something beyond sexual. Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's awesome. So that type of animation, but a type of fulfillment that like your personal thoughts are the embankment and the reflection of this piece of media. Meanwhile, you're able to sort of subchat in a psychic field with other people who are making works of art from a meditation. So that's what I build and when I present with my family unit because we're in battle. I was making a show and putting armor around my eyes to perform exactly this mastery to sort of facilitate um, image communication ascension uh, society energy all this sort of thing perception the circle. All right, you guys, thank you so much. And so I'm saying I really can solve all the problems of the world and ensure humanity's survival. Just produce hatch and we'll make a bunch of money with the Remask XR and just sort of have a family thing. It's just American made. It's just a normal business going forward. All right, thank you so much, Trey. Thank you guys. Thanks. I'm glad I could tell you about the map stories. I feel a little bit less crazy. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Merry Christmas.